So Kirby Smart and the rest of his staff did a whole lot of work in December, and they have the #1 recruiting class right now in college football. I'm thinking they could take a vacation, take it easy, and maybe they slip to #2, and it's not a big deal. But that's not how they're going to play it. We bring in Savannah Lee Richardson from Bulldog Illustrated. She always helps us out on Georgia football. And Savannah, obviously, that's the mindset to finish this thing off, to complete it, because there's still some amazing recruits and prospects on the board. And Georgia right now is the #1 class. Ohio State's right up there as well, nipping at their heels. But man, this will be a great class, regardless of what happens in the next 3 days. But it could be just an over-the-top, all-time class if they get just a handful of what they're looking for.
Oh, I agree. This is probably going to go down as the most historic class in Rivals history, Georgia history, and probably modern football, like since they came up with any of the ranking systems. They have about 5 spots left. 2 guys are committed. You have Jordan Davis and Tramal Walthor, both defensive linemen and defense tackles they're committed but have not signed yet. So those are 2 guys to definitely keep an eye out on due to the fact they're already committed to Georgia. However, there are some highly, highly recruited guys still out there. Tyson Campbell, Rick Sandage, Quay Walker, Otis Reese. Those 4 guys right there alone could all decide to come to Georgia, and I think that they would all have a spot. Rick Sandage especially, he's another defensive tackle he's from Georgia. Well, I don't know exactly where he's from, but it's down to South Carolina and Georgia. His mother went to South Carolina, however, but Georgia has just got finished with an in-home visit this week, and they evidently have said a lot of things to him about potentially playing early when he got here, not necessarily just adding depth to the roster. And South Carolina is coming in this weekend to finish out their last in-home visit with him, but that's coming down to the wire between Georgia and South Carolina. Moving to Tyson Campbell, I mean, he's a 5-star on all the media sites. He's probably the best cornerback left out there. And it's down to Georgia and Miami. Miami gets the last visit with him this weekend. But I'm leaning Georgia here due to the fact of his size and how Kirby Smart wants to bring in that bigger secondary we've talked about before. He's ranked number 12 in the country on 247, the #2 cornerback, I think behind Isaac Taylor Stewart. And he just excites me. His length and his natural instincts alone just make me want to, like, put him out there. Like, just go. Like, I want to see you play early. I want to see you stand out and just make an impact especially when you have Mel Tucker and Kirby Smart coaching the defensive backs and really being out there. I think his talent could explode early at Georgia. Another couple names to keep an eye out for Georgia is Quay Walker, who's currently an Alabama commit, but has been kind of leaning towards Tennessee due to the fact that Jeremy Pruitt took the Tennessee head coaching job, and that's who predominantly recruited him at Alabama. I think it's probably going to come down to Georgia and Tennessee, but don't really know where he sits at this moment in time. It could go either way. He's on campus at Georgia right now, taking his last of OV, and so it could go either way. Otis Reese is another guy we talked about before. He's from Lee County, Georgia, and is currently a Michigan commit. However, Georgia's still in the mix with them, recruiting him hard and just sending him out there. It looks like that Georgia wants to take at least 2 more defensive linemen in the class, 1 wide receiver, 1 defensive back, and a linebacker. So I'm thinking, Tyson Campbell for the defensive back. As for the 2 defensive linemen, I'm not quite sure. You have Jordan Davis, who's a 4-star, and Tramal Walthor, who's a 3-star. But at the same time, you have Rick Sandage coming in, who's a 4-star as well, and it's probably the highest sought-after defensive lineman left. 2018 wasn't really known for their defensive lineman class, so the fact that he's still in Georgia's mix is really big and a really good advantage for them. As for the wide receivers, it's between Antoine Green and Tommy Bush, depending on how this weekend goes. Georgia went to Texas this week for an in-home visit with Coley and Kirby and all of them. So evidently that went really well, according to some sources, and of course Rivals and 247 all reporting on it. I like Tommy Bush. He's a big guy, big hands. He could replace Javon Wims definitely, but that's all up in the air as well, depending on whether he decides to stay in state or come out of state. As for linebackers, it's going to come down to 2 Georgia guys with Quay Walker and Otis Reese. Either way you look at it, Georgia's going to get a monster at that position. So it's going to be exciting times in the next, 72 hours. Yeah, it's about 3 days left. Wednesday, yeah.
Yep.
But I think, doesn't the dead period start tonight at midnight, or is it Sunday at midnight? I think it's Sunday at midnight. It's going to be interesting because Georgia currently has 7 5-stars on the commitment list, well, that are actually signees now, and could add an 8th, and with Tyson Campbell. So that's some exciting stuff at Georgia, but it's all up in the air. Everybody's like, well, what about this guy and what about this guy? But to be honest, if Jordan Davis and Tramon Walther don't jump on the opportunity and sign as early in the morning on Wednesday, they end their spots due to the amount of talent still out there and still on the list for Georgia.
So you mentioned this cornerback situation. Tyson Campbell, this is intriguing. So he gets the visit to Miami. So it's Mark Richt versus Georgia for the number 2 cornerback in the country. What's also interesting here is that you mentioned Isaac Taylor Stewart, at least according to 247 Sports, he's the 4th rated cornerback. Looks like he's going to stay out west. He's from San Diego. USC seems to be the choice for him, although Georgia's in the running. Patrick Surtain actually will probably go to LSU. He's another cornerback who's on Georgia's board, but most likely is going to go to LSU. He's also being swayed by Miami. He is on the same team playing the opposite cornerback position from Tyson Campbell. At American Heritage High School in Miami, I might be slightly off. It's in South Florida, American Heritage High School. They have the top 2 cornerbacks playing on the same high school football team, and they've won 2 consecutive state championships, going undefeated both years. That's just crazy to me that the top 2 cornerbacks in the nation are playing for the same high school.
Oh, yeah, I agree. American Heritage produces so many D1 athletes every year. So much talent comes out of that high school. It's almost like, what are y'all doing down there? Like, is it something in the water, or are y'all just lucky to get these kids? I mean, Miami, Florida, Georgia, and Texas, and California are like the 4 top states that have all these talents, that have all this talent that comes out of them each year. And so, especially down in South Florida, I mean, I believe that's where Sony Michel came from, isn't it? American Heritage?
I believe so. And my apologies to American Heritage, not Miami. And that's why I corrected myself, and I had to look that up. Fort Lauderdale. How could I forget Fort Lauderdale, visiting down there about 3 times on spring break? So yeah, Fort Lauderdale, American Heritage High School. Amazing product of high school football talent. And actually, according to 247 Sports, they're saying Tyson Campbell has a 70% chance of their 33 predictors, 70% chance over Miami to come to Athens. So that sounds good, huh?
I agree. In the last few weeks, Georgia's done in-home, probably the last few months, in-home as much as they can, keeping in contact. That's probably the top guy on the list. I mean, Kirby Smart loves defensive backs, and I think we've mentioned this before, going to bigger defensive backs. And with the guys that they've already signed, there's not many under 6 foot. And so Tyson Campbell, 6'2.5", about 180 pounds, and that's going to be an ideal situation, especially with DeAndre Baker being a senior, leaving the following year, needing someone to take over that star position, that nickel area, and just being able to have that big guy on the outside. And that's exactly where they're going to put Campbell if Campbell comes to Athens. And we need a big guy back there. And he's exciting. His film impresses me every time I watch it. I've probably watched his film like 6 or 7 times, and I'm just like, geez, this kid is talented.
Savannah Lee Richardson joining us from Bulldog Illustrated, breaking down the tape as well. Good stuff, Savannah. We just wanted to track you down one last time to get the latest on Georgia football, as we are 3 days away from National Signing Day. It's the #1 rated class in America, and it could be even better, and will be better, because they're going to grab about 3 to 4 out of these 8 targets. So it can only improve from here.
I agree. It's going to be exciting to see how it all plays out and who decides to come and who doesn't. And anybody who adds to this class now is just icing on the cake. it's the best Georgia class in history so far, and it's only, like you said, it's only going to get better. And I'm excited to see who signs and who decides to go where. National Signing Day is probably my favorite day of the year. Now that I have 2 National Signing Days, it's like Christmas and then my birthday, so it's the best holidays combined. So I'm excited to see. I don't miss a year. This year I will be in class doing a newscasting class, and it lasts all day. So I'm like, this is like the first signing day I've missed in 10 years maybe. So it's kind of like a bittersweet moment, but I got to do the whole early National Signing Day, so that was good too. But icing on the cake, and I think Rare Breed 18 is going to go down as the best class in Rivals modern history.
So when Savannah says it's like her birthday, she means it's like her birthday, but it is her birthday. So happy birthday, Savannah. Everybody wish Savannah a happy birthday.
Thank you.
So we cannot cover Georgia football without you, Savannah. So we appreciate you, your time here, and have a great weekend. And we will see you soon.
Sounds good. Have a good weekend too.